Okay, so now we're going to talk about using secondaries. Now, secondaries are a little bit more advanced level color grading, and it gives you a little bit finer control over which colors you're selecting and how you're affecting them. So we use the curves and the color wheels to adjust different parts of the image, whether it was the midtones and shadows or different colors or saturation values. And so you can use those for kind of broad strokes, but the secondary is what gives you kind of that sniper that allows you to pick exact specific parts of the image or specific colors and then change them or affect them. So if you go into the secondary panel here, you'll notice that there are a lot of knobs and colors and a lot of stuff going on. I'm going to break this all down for you. Now, I should note that in Final Cut, this is called a color mask. So you actually create a color mask, which will allow you to select a specific color. In DaVinci Resolve, this is done using the qualifier tool, but it all works exactly the same way and has the exact same tools, okay? So up here at the top of the secondaries window, we've got the selector, okay? This is where you choose the color that you want to be working with. Now, the easiest way to do this is to just choose the eyedropper tool and go over here and select a color that you want to affect. So we're going to focus on the skin tones in this video, so I'm just going to select his skin tones right there. And then I'll use the eyedropper with the plus tool to just kind of drag around his face, which is going to pick a lot of these colors. Now you'll notice that our sliders here kind of changed as I was doing that. These sliders each represent hue, saturation, and our luminance or intensity, right? So these are how we're going to select the color. So you can see that it's selecting a range of colors that goes from red to over to orange and then kind of fades out through into yellow. Okay, so that's the area that it's selecting there. So it's selecting everything that is within that hue range. It's selecting everything that's within this saturation range. Okay, so, pretty unsaturated to, kind of medium saturated there. And then it's selecting everything within this luminance range. All right, and you can adjust these and adjust how much of the image is being selected. So if I check this box down here, it will show me over here exactly what is being selected. So you'll notice I've got his skin tones on his hands there, on her skin tones. We've got, the foosball table here as well, a little bit of this lamp, some of this back wall. So I can make adjustments to this. Let's say I want to kind of push it this way and adjust and grab more of that back wall. I can kind of adjust this and get it where I want. Now, when you're making adjustments to these sliders, the general rule of thumb is that you just want to adjust them so that they end up selecting more of what you want and less of what you don't want. Okay, so I might make little adjustments here. As I'm widening this one, I'm actually getting more of what I want. I want kind of all of the warm tones in this image. So I might move this direction, but I want to make sure I'm not losing the skin tones. See, if I go too far down on the saturation, I'm starting to pick up his shirt in here and her shirt there, which I don't want. So I'm going to narrow this a little bit and then kind of move it up to the right some more. So we're getting just those skin tones and anything like it. And then same thing with the luminance. I can kind of bounce around with this. I want to make sure I'm getting the shadows as well. And we'll kind of narrow that a little bit. Oh, actually, I'm losing some of the highlights on his forehead, so I need to make it a little bit bigger so that I get the shadows and the highlights. And that's pretty good right there. Okay, so now we've selected the color that we want to affect. Now the next step is down here. There's a blur tool, so you can use this to blur the lines. That way, once we make adjustments to this color, there won't be like a hard line of change. So I'll usually blur this out quite a bit to just kind of make sure that we don't have any hard lines there. And then once that's selected, now I can deselect this. We've got that color selected. Now I can use this color wheel down here to make whatever adjustments I want to just that range. So you'll notice if I drag around on this color wheel, it's going to change the color of just that area that we selected in the image. Okay, so we can change the color of it like that, and then we can change the exposure of it. So I can increase it, I can decrease it. You can do all sorts of crazy stuff with it. You also have controls down here for temperature, tint, contrast. You can sharpen it, you can saturate it, desaturate it, whatever you want. Now, one of the best use cases for this tool is for getting your skin tones right. And that's why we selected his skin tones. So I'm going to show you how to use the secondaries tool in order to get somebody's skin tones accurate. There's actually a scientific way of doing this, and we're going to do it using the vector scope. So on every vector scope, you've got the entire color wheel here with all of your colors. And on every vector scope, you're going to have a line here that runs diagonally from about northwest to about southeast. Okay, this line that runs diagonally right here. This is known as the skin tone line. This line actually represents the color of the blood that runs through human skin. So if you want your skin tones to be natural, then they should be right on that line. It's actually really interesting because it doesn't matter if you have darker skin or if you have lighter skin, everybody has the same color of blood. So everybody's skin tones are actually the same hue, the same color, even though maybe saturation or luminance or intensity values might vary from individual to individual. And so every single person, regardless of their race or skin color, can actually be color graded so that their skin tones are accurate right on that skin tone line. Okay? So let's go ahead and do this. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my effect controls and open up a mask here so that I can just be working with the skin tone values on our guy here. So I'm going to adjust this mask so it's just on his face, just like this. And what that's going to allow us to do is when I go back to my vector scope, it'll show me only what I have inside of that mask. Now you'll notice that our skin tones right now are a little bit tilted towards the red side. They're a little too red. And so we can make that adjustment over here on our secondaries. Again, this is only going to select or modify what we selected. So I'm going to take my color wheel here and I'm just going to drag it down towards the green and yellow part of the color wheel. And notice how that little cloud on the vector scope is now moved so that it's right over the skin tone line. Okay, so we can go from there. Now let's go ahead and delete this mask and get rid of it. And you'll notice that our image now looks a lot more natural. Those skin tones are a lot more natural. Let's go ahead and A/B back and forth. So this was before when everything was looking just a little bit too red. Let me make that a little bit bigger so you can see it. And this is after. See how much better that looks and more natural it is? So this is how you can use the secondaries and your vector scope in order to get skin tones right, but you can also use this to do any number of other things. So for example, if I wanted to change the color of this lamp back here, I could, or any specific item that's a different color than something else in the image. You can do all sorts of adjustments. You can do multiple layers of these and do whatever adjustments you need to your image. So where the curves tools and the color wheel tools kind of give you a broad ability to change colors, the secondary gives you kind of that very specific approach to adjusting your image. So there you go. There's a quick video on how to use secondaries to get accurate skin tones. Hopefully that was helpful. If you have questions about that, feel free to let me know, and we'll see you on the next one.